Hey everybody, Lars here. CS 111. Students now are getting their Java configured on their machines, loading a JDK, loading the VS Code IDE, getting it working together so you can do Java programs on your laptop, on your desktop, on the gear that you're using. But there's another way you can go about doing your Java programs, and I wanted to review it quickly because of remote instruction and the fact we can't all be together on campus. You can still access the resources that we have in our instructional labs because you can use a program to go log in to the machines in the instructional labs. And I'm going to show you basically how to do that really quickly. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go grab my browser because I have some web pages set up. And I'm going to show you that the first thing you want to do is you want to go to the computer science website. It's got all the information about different degrees, faculty, what people's interests are, what everybody's doing. It's really fantastic resource. If you're a computer science student, you intend to be a major, you're taking a CS class. But where I'm going to go right now is I'm going to go to resources, and I'm going to go to technical support and services. Okay, it'll bring you to resources.cs.rutgers.edu. I come down here and I click on computer labs and remote access. Remember, this is YouTube. You can freeze this. You can watch where I'm going, and you can get all these steps down. You can go up and look at my URLs. And then it says Instructional Laboratory Systems. Okay, but before I go there, if this is your first semester, if you're a first-year student and you haven't used any of our systems anymore, you're going to want to go to Accounts and Passwords and go to Account Management. Okay, and then you're going to want to click on Activate an Account on a computer science system. When you click on that, it's going to ask you to authenticate. You're going to use your NetID and then your NetID or Rutgers password, okay? I'm going to do so, and it's going to tell me, hey, wait a minute. I have you as a user on the iLab system and on the faculty system, okay? You, as somebody who's new, it's going to say you don't have an account yet, but I see you in CS 111. You're eligible for an account, and you're going to set up a password. Your computer science password is different from your NetID password, or you can use the same one, so it's all the same. But it's kept on a different system, so know that. If you want it to be different than your NetID, you can do that. And there's all kinds of different options for authentication, and that's beyond the scope of this video. So I just want to make sure you know how to come here to get yourself an account. When you ask for it, you set things up. I'm guessing within half a day, perhaps 24 hours, you will have an account on the instructional lab systems because we're going to go take a look at them now, and I want to make sure that you're good and you have an account. If you are taking a computer science class, you are eligible for an account on the instructional lab machines. I'm guessing the reason that you're looking at this video is because it's CS 111 and you want to know how to use the labs for Java, so you should have access to an account. All right, let's go back to that original page I was at. There's account management. There's student systems, okay? I'm going to click on this link here that says Instructional Laboratory Systems. And there's two links here that I want to clue you into. The first one we're going to look at is the iLab machine status page. Because without being live and in person on campus, this is how I'm going to give you a little bit of a lay of the land. These back-end servers are available for you to use, but you can see these maps here. They're maps of the actual physical labs, okay? And they show where the machines are in these particular labs. We have room 248, which is the command center. You can see the machines are named after Linux commands. Also, when it was first built, they had big multiple monitor setups, and it looked like NORAD in there, so a lot of people called it the command center. We named all of the machines after Linux commands. The Cave kind of acts as the unofficial headquarters of undergraduate CS. 2 rooms right in the middle of the labs. We have 10 Linux machines in there, named after computer languages. And finally, in 254, we have the Meltdown Lab. These machines are all named after things that melt: ice, butter, cheese, frost. You can see it down the line. Okay? These are the names of the machines that you can log into. from your computer. What we're going to do is we're going to load a piece of software on your machine, be it a Windows machine, be it a Mac, that's going to allow you to log in to these machines and use them from home. You're going to basically make a connection over the internet and log into these machines. But this is where you can find out what their names are, you know, how many people are logged into them, are they up, are they crowded, blah, 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 things like that. So the second thing I'm going to bring to your attention is right here. It says iLab machines can be accessed via SSH, Windows Remote Desktop, X2Go, which is a graphical thing. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can access these machines. The method we're going to go through in this video tonight is we're going to look at SSH. So if you're interested in reading more about SSH and seeing what's going on with SSH, you can click on that and you can read this article from Chris Hoffman, okay? And they describe how to use Putty. And that's basically what we're going to use, okay? So we're going to grab, now remember, I'm a Windows 10 system. If you're Mac, I'll be honest with you, you don't need it. SSH is there. It comes along for the ride. But I'm going to do things if you have a Windows 10 box, okay? If not, top level, follow along with what I'm doing. I'm using software to go log into the machines. Frankly, if you're using a Mac, you could just go out to a command line and use SSH from the command line because you're kind of using the same systems. Anyway, I digress. What I want to do now is show you where to go and get Putty. I'm going to use what's called an SSH client. I'm going to load it on my Windows machine. Use that to log into an iLab machine. So I'm clicking over here, software.rutgers.edu. Okay, actually, I'm going to log out. I'm going to show you the process. Here, as a Rutgers student, you have access to a whole bunch of different software packages. Some are at discount prices. Some are completely free. Software.rutgers.edu. Punch that in. It says log in. Again, you're going to log in with your NetID and your Rutgers NetID password, and it's going to take you to the university software portal. If you look here on the left-hand side and you come down to FTP, that stands for File Transfer Protocol. You don't need to know that. And if you click on that, you'll see Putty right there. Okay? Now, as you could probably guess, you also see WinSCP right there, which is kind of nice because I'm going to use that later too. I usually just Google that, so now I know it's here. WinCP is also there. That's good. Grab that while you're at it. Free, free, free. That's my favorite word. I have Putty right here. I'm going to double click on Putty and I'm going to get the Putty configuration page. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to one of the machines that I looked at here. I'm going to click on iLab status. And what I usually do, because I manage the cave, I go to the cave, and this is the desk where the iLab assistant usually sits. And this is where the machine Java is. It's right here. So what I usually do when I log in is I use Java. So as you can see, it's right there. I'm going to type it in fresh so you can see it. Just type java.cs.rutgers.edu. Okay? And click open. And what's going to happen is you're going to open a session that asks you to log into that machine. Now, when you use Putty, that window is likely going to be gray or white, a little off-white. And the text is going to be black, okay? I have some custom settings because I'm old and I can't see anymore. So I want a black background and I want that yellow lettering to pop. So what I do is I put in my NetID. I've been at Rutgers a long time, so I'm from the day where you could get your name and other things. They just didn't give you your initials and a number. So I log in as Big Lars, and then I put in my password. Now remember, I'm logging into a computer science system. So I'm using my password that I set up with the account. I'm not using my NetID password. It turns out in my case, they are different. So I punch that in. If I'm lucky, at the end of the day, I get a prompt. And you can see I have my prompt set up to say Big Lars, which is me, at Java, and it tells me what machine I'm at. Okay? So now you've logged into one of the computers in the instructional labs. if you don't already know, the instructional labs, all of the machines are running Linux, okay? Free operating system akin to Unix in the old days, used pretty heavily in computer science circles. It's going to help you if you learn a little bit about Linux, okay? That's not hard, because if you go to Rutgers Information Technology, we have a deal with LinkedIn Learning, and there's actually courses on learning about Linux. You can go to YouTube and watch a 20-minute tutorial. There's different ways. There's a class you can take my friend Alexei gives over in the engineering department. There's a lot of ways you can get up to speed with Linux. I know we're going to touch on a whole bunch of different things tonight, and I don't want to confuse you. So if you don't know anything about Linux, you could just follow along with what I'm doing in order to get that first program done. But eventually you're going to want to learn a few commands. You sit down at a Linux machine, you're going to get a graphical user interface just like you do with your Windows or your Mac. But you don't have to use that interface. You can also use the command line. When I do SSH, I'm not going to do anything with graphical programs. I'm going to just use command line stuff. So I just go in and use the command line. But a few simple Linux commands would be something like ls, which is going to list all of my directories and programs that I have in the directory I'm at. How do I know what directory I'm in? pwd prints the working directory and tells me, okay, I'm in iLab users and big Lars. And so when I do the ls, I'm seeing all of the directories and files in that particular directory. All right, well, how do I know what's a file and what's a directory and what's that? Well, I can give it a -al and get a more serious listing with dates and file access on a whole bunch of different stuff. Your view gets too crowded here, type the word clear. It'll clear everything out for you, okay? So, similar to the process that we use on your machine when we install Java, these machines already have Java running on them. They already have the environment variables set up, so they know where Java is. So basically, all we want to do is I'm going to cd to change directory, and I have a directory called CS111. Okay, don't think there's anything in there. There's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create. Do I want to create a directory? I will, to show you the command. mkdir for make directory, and I will call it capital hello. Okay. Then I will change directory to hello and go there. Now, no files there. I want to create a file because I'm going to create that first Java program that I want to run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a command called touch. And I'm going to call the file hello.java. All touch does is create a blank file. So now if I do an ls-al, you can see hello.java is there. You can see here the permissions. It has read, write for the owner of the file. Java lets you give permissions to groups, to everybody, to this, that, beyond the scope of this particular video. When you start learning a little bit about Linux, you're going to learn about all of that stuff. So now I have a file called hello.java, but how do I, put a hello world program in there? You have to learn to use a file editor, just like you would use Word on your Windows machine, okay? Or Notepad++ or Sublime or anything like that. There's different editors that run in the command line. Some people use very simple ones, Vim, VI. I use Emacs. Emacs is a multi-line editor. And what I'll do, you'll also see that with your shell or the program that kind of runs your prompt in Linux, you can usually hit the tab and fill things in, and it can make intelligent guesses for you. I don't want to pop up a window, so I'm going to give it the no window command there. So Emacs hello.java nw for no window, and I get this interface right here. So I am very quickly public class hello. I'm going to create a hello world. Public static void main string. Bang the brackets out there. No, I don't want braces. I want brackets. Args. Doesn't have to be args. Remember, it's just a variable name. So then system.out.println hello world, as I am duty bound to do. It is my first program. Do not forget the semicolon. He said, coming from a Python world, I need to remember that. Now you can see with Emacs, when I make that brace, it tells me which one I'm closing, which, believe me, will be a very good thing later on. So now I do another brace, and it closes that top one right there. So I know I'm good, okay? In Emacs, I know I have to go Control-XS, and it saves. Control-XC brings me back out. So now I can do my listing again, and you can see, well, you can see that Hello Java squiggly because now I kind of have a backup of the way it used to be. And it used to be nothing because I just did a touch on it. But now it has something there, okay? What do I want to do now? What I want to do now maybe is take a look at it from the command line. If you want to take a look at a file, like if you were using Windows command line, or what us old fuddy-duddies would call DOS, you would use the type command, and that could show you what's in your file. Here in Linux land, we use the command cat, or you can use less or more, but then it kind of jumps you in another interface. I like just doing cat and blah, just puts it out to the screen. So I'm going to go HEL, and then I'm going to hit tab, and it's going to complete it. And then I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to show me the program. So I'm looking at that, see my semicolon. Oh, I misspelled hello. That's actually going to come in handy in a second, so I'm going to leave it like that. So what do I want to do? What we've been doing for the last week. Java C, hello.java. When I do that, boom, it compiles my Java code to bytecode, okay? So now if I do an ls, I see hello.class, which is my object file. Yes, it's the bytecode that we want to now feed to the JVM to get interpreted. How do we do that? We say just Java and just the name of the .class file. So I'm going to say Java hello. And there you go, hello world. And hello is misspelled. That is actually going to help right now, because we are at the end of this particular journey. We have come to our iLab machine. We've created a directory. We've gone into that directory. We've created a file. We edited that file, okay? Remember, with the up arrow, you can show all of the previous commands you did. We edited that file. Then we took a look at it. Then we compiled it to bytecode. And then we interpreted the bytecode and ran it. When we did that, it said hello world, misspelled as it is, okay? I'm going to clear the screen and do that again. Okay. Now, you're saying, oh, that's wonderful. That's all well and good. I can use the iLabs to do my Java programming. But how am I going to get that program off of that Linux machine and onto my machine where I can upload it to the AutoGrader or AutoLab, where I can then get my grade? Well, that's where WinSCP comes in. I'm going to leave this window running right here, and I'm going to go fire up this program, WinSCP. Now, what I was planning on doing was telling you to Google it. You can grab it from a bunch of different sites. Turns out you don't have to do that, because WinSCP is sitting right there. So go ahead and grab it from the portal, because the university software portal has it. You might as well use it. You double-click that guy, and it gives you a graphical interface that'll show you two different file systems. One is going to be the file system on your hard drive, on your machine. I happen to be using my laptop. And the other side is going to be a Linux machine that you pointed at. So what am I going to point it at? Point it at Java. Java.rutgers.edu. It's going to ask you for your username. It's going to ask you for your password. I punch all that stuff in. I say log in. It jumps through all those different fire hoops. And all of a sudden, my directory listing from my Linux home directory is now sitting over here. So what am I going to do? I happen to be in a directory called Area 51 where I do a lot of temporary work. People who have my lecture know this already. So I'm going to come over here to this side, to the Linux machine, and there's CS111. There's hello. I just created it. And there's hello.java. You ready for this? Literally just pick it up, drag it over here, and drop it. And because I'm the owner and I'm logged in as me, I have full read access to it, so I can drop it over on this side. So now I come here to my my Explorer window on my Windows box, and I have a file called hello. Okay? When I double click it, it shows me the file. How do I know it's the file that I just brought over? Well, look what's misspelled. Okay? Hello world. So now the file that I created over on that Linux machine is now on my Windows box. I can upload it to AutoGrader and I can get a grade for it. Okay? So that's the way you would get a machine. That's the way you would get a Java program off of the iLab machine and back to your local machine. Okay? So now I'm done with what I need to do. I can play around with Linux some more. I can do some other things. I'm just going to log out. So what am I going to do? I'm going to type exit, and it's going to close Putty for me. I'm going to go here to SCP, and I'm going to go to session, and I say close session, and it closes the session. So I'm done with SCP. So now I didn't do any of the Java work on my local machine. I went and logged in to the Instructional Labs and did my work, and then I offloaded that program, and I brought it over here, and I dumped it on my local Windows system, where I can now upload it and get a grade for it. Once you get things set up and you get things going, it's just a matter of firing up Putty, logging in, and then you can play around with Java and learn systems. If you want to watch, you type in top, and you can see the whole system is monitored, and you can see all the different processes run and see what memory is and how long it's been up and a whole bunch of things like that. You can hit Control-C to get out of it, clear, and you can play around and do a lot of things with Linux and start learning the inside out of Linux systems. It's a good thing to know. If you plan on being a computer science major later down the line, these iLab machines are probably where you're going to write your C programs. There's a C compiler on these machines, so you can write C programs and use that. You can write Python programs on these machines and run Python. There's a 2.7. There's a whole bunch of 3.6 is on this perhaps. I don't know if it's all the way up to 3.8, but there's Python on here. So the iLabs are a great resource. When we get back to normal, hopefully in spring of 21, you're going to come to the labs. You're going to be able to sit in front of a machine, use a graphical interface, and do a whole bunch of things. But as a computer science student taking a computer science class, you have access to all these machines. So you should use them. You should have some fun. Learn a little bit about Linux. Create your own directory. Keep your own files. You get a little bit of file storage to play around with. And if you choose to, you can do your Java programs here on the iLabs, and then you don't have to worry about having weird environment variables or not being able to find where things are on your local machine. That said, in my opinion, get Java running on your local machine and do both. Okay? That way you know how to do both and you understand how the system works. But then one day, if you're just, on Linux playing around doing things and you want to really quick bang out that Java program, you can do it. Okay? All right. I probably have gone longer than I wanted to. So I am going to end this. All right? Good luck with the process. If you ever have any questions, you go to the Canvas site. You can ask on Piazza. Or if you have any specific questions about when labs are going to be open or going to the cave or using the cave virtual room, just shoot me an email anytime. biglars@cs.rutgers.edu. All right? All right. You be good. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.